Okay, NBC News has this report. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has quietly changed the Senate's informal dress code to allow senators to wear whatever they want on the floor, a person with direct knowledge said. A notice went out to the Senate, Sergeant-at-Arms, and relevant staff members late Friday, and the change will go into effect starting Monday. The change will let Senator John Fetterman, who is often seen wearing a hoodie and baseball shorts, wear his casual attire on the Senate floor whenever he wants. Fetterman, who was elected in last year's midterm elections, wore a suit and tie at his swearing-in January, but I guess has not worn it since. However, he's worn his casual clothes after he returned to the Senate following treatment for clinical depression this year. So there's been a lot of conversation about this, including over on The View. And as always, we know there's great insight being provided by those women who I think are, in many ways, the philosophers of our age. Principal among them would be Whoopi Goldberg. And here's what she had to say about it.
So yesterday, Chuck Schumer ended the dress code in Washington because they all have to wear suits and skirts and dresses and stuff, and really did kind of a really wonderful thing for John Fetterman. And people are upset on the other side of the aisle. They think this is not something that should have been done, that it shouldn't have been changed. Now, what's interesting is this kind of, for me, highlights an issue that the other side often has. Because... Which is, it's okay if you don't want to wear shorts and a sweatsuit. You're not obligated to. But this is a guy who votes with one leg in and one leg out because he doesn't want to interrupt the flow of good-looking people in their suits and dresses. And Schumer said, you know what, let me be thoughtful. Let's lighten it up so you can be more comfortable here. Mm-hmm. I think that's great because it's not saying that everybody has to do it. It's saying you can do it. Yeah. You can if you've been feeling, my God, I'd just rather wear pants.
So more great insight there from the View. And I mean, look, on the one hand, with this dress code thing, you could make the argument that these DC politicians are a bunch of scumbags and whores anyway, so why even bother with the formality? You might as well abolish the dress code because most of them are absolute scum, like the dregs of humanity in DC. Not all of them, but most of them. And maybe there's like 3 that aren't. So you could say, well, just have them all look like slovenly bums, as John Fetterman does all the time. Why not? And you can make that argument, but that's not the argument that I will make because I happen to believe in dress codes, and even though I wear flannel every day on this show, but there are environments where you're supposed to put in more effort, and you're supposed to meet a certain standard of dress. And if you're elected to the Senate, then you should be held to that standard. The idea that the most important thing in the world is for people to be comfortable is just absolutely wrong-headed and stupid. And I always like to flip this around because people like to say, oh, well, what do you need a dress code? What do you need a dress code for? Well, how about this? Why can't you abide by it? What's so difficult? No, we don't have to. You've got something like a dress code that's been in place forever, and everybody abides by it. And then you come along and say, what do we need this for? No, we're not the ones who have to explain ourselves to you. People always get this wrong when it comes to dress codes or anything else. When there's a tradition, a custom, a way that things are done, and everybody's doing it that way, and then you come along and say, why should I have to do it? No, you're putting the burden of proof on us. Like, we have to explain ourselves to you? No. You need to explain yourself. Why shouldn't you do it? Okay, why shouldn't you? Why can't you? Why can't John Fetterman put a damn suit on? Is he a child? Is he a big, oafish, overgrown child? Or is he a grown man and an elected official? We know he's making 6 figures. He can afford a suit. He can at least afford to run down to Men's Warehouse and buy a few suits. They've always got a special, like buy 10 suits for $95 and get the 11th one free. So you could go out and you could buy some suits. He just doesn't feel like it. He doesn't want to. He wants to walk around every day looking like I look when I make an 11:30 p.m. run to Walmart. And yeah, if you're at Walmart at 11:30 p.m. or really any time of day, you can look as disheveled as you want because per tradition in that institution, that's the tradition at Walmart. If anything, it goes the other way. Because if you look too formal at Walmart, then it's you're out of dress code. So, but if you can't be bothered to abide by a simple dress code in the Senate, then you don't deserve to be there. And if you can't treat, it's funny that we hear so much about the sacred halls after January 6th, the sacred halls at Capitol Hill and Congress, and it's sacred. It's a sacred place. Sacred. It's so sacred you can't even bother to put a suit on? And it blows my mind with John Fetterman in particular, the way that we talk about him and treat this guy. We treat him literally like he's a child. The guy's a United States Senator, and Whoopi Goldberg is sitting there saying, oh, good for him. He can wear his shorts. That'll make him comfortable. He's a good boy. You're a good boy, Johnny. Just wear what you want. As long as you're comfortable. Are you having fun? You want a juice box? Are you a little hungry? Did you bring your lunch today? You need a Lunchable? Did your mommy pack you a lunch, Johnny? We treat this guy like he's special needs. It's ridiculous. A United States Senator. And this, by the way, is I believe that this was part of the reason why the stay at the hospital, I think this was part of it. Call me cynical. I am. But the moment John Fetterman got elected and everybody was talking about, is this guy even capable of performing the functions of the office? And then he gets elected, and the moment he gets elected, pretty much, he's checking into a hospital with mental issues and depression. And the thing is, the moment that happened, it was like this hush, this silence fell over him. And suddenly you're not allowed to criticize him anymore. You're not allowed to hold him to any kind of standard. And he's in the hospital for days on end. And he's a United States Senator who just got elected. And he's in the hospital with depression. And no one's allowed to ask any questions about it. Like, what the hell? What's going on? You should step down if you can't do the job, if you're not emotionally capable. Like, what's happening here? How is this okay? You know a company's looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and don't charge you for it. This is great news for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every plan and includes a mobile hotspot with no price increase whatsoever. If you've considered Pure Talk before but haven't made the switch, take a look again. For just $20 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, text, and now 50% more 5G data plus their new mobile hotspot. This is why I love Pure Talk. They're veteran-owned and only hire the best customer service team located right here in the great USA. Most families are saving almost $1,000 a year while enjoying the most dependable 5G network in America. Remember, you vote with how you spend your money, so stop supporting woke wireless companies that don't support you. When you go to puretalk.com/Walsh, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month because they actually value you. That's puretalk.com/Walsh. Pure Talk, wireless for Americans, by Americans. No, if you're elected as a senator, you cannot be checking yourself in to hospitals for mental health problems. You need to step down from your position if you're doing that. And that is so obvious, and no one would say it. Like, we all know that. But the moment that happens, because once you claim depression or something, it's like, oh, well, it's weak. We can't say anything. That's insensitive. And so I think that it was at least partially calculated, because now we treat this guy like he's a damn toddler. And it was at least partially calculated. There was a calculation, I believe. Put him in the hospital, get the sympathy points up, and then next thing you know, we're changing the dress code for this guy. And he's walking around babbling nonsense. He's babbling nonsense. He cannot string. He literally cannot. Listening to him talk, you feel like you're having a stroke. Because what he's saying doesn't even make any sense. And that we're not supposed to notice either. You can't notice, can't comment. It's insensitive. You say too many mean things, you might end up back in the hospital with a mental health issue, and that'll be your fault. It is such an embarrassment. I mean, and I know in some ways this seems like a moot point also, because all these people are embarrassing us all the time. But this thing with Fetterman in particular, it's the kind of thing that historians are going to look back on. And they're going to note that that's going to be one of those moments when they're tracing the decline and collapse of, United States, American society. It's going to be one of the sort of landmark moments is when this guy was elected and allowed to stay in office even though he's has lost his mind completely. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.